Even though they're artists and they forgive me for being a vegetarian, so that made me feel better.
Right, you called them out on air for being very judgy. For you today, your family will be very happy about that. Oh, you gave us the last correct response. What was it?
Let's do other uses of texting for 1,000, please.
IMO. This Newton's third law of motion states that for every action, there is one beat.
What is an equal and opposite reaction?
There it is. And you have come back with a big reaction after the Miss Daily Double. You have the lead at the end of the Jeopardy round. Will, you also like first in double Jeopardy. It all begins
Will be able to fit a high school soccer field, but not a field that would also be able to be utilized for lacrosse or football, right? Because of the overall length of the field being there. Right?
Trade-off.
So that's the trade-off, is if you want additional courts, you know, it's gonna come at the expense of the soccer or the baseball.
So if we wanted to fit additional courts in that corner,
Mhm.
we would not be able to have the baseball field for sure.
Well, a baseball would fit. Right now, the limiting factor is the soccer field. There is room.
I see what you're saying.
you know,
Okay,
to shift this, but
so we
to-
would shift, so if you shifted the soccer field, yeah, that way,
Mhm.
then you'd make a little bit, then you make another row of courts.
You can shift it, you can rotate it, there's ways to, you know, squeeze a court in here or there, but it starts to get really, excuse me, tight. And again, considering if you've got, you know, a field with, you know, the baseball has backstops and goal posts and whatever that field is intended to be used for, it's tight, especially considering you gotta have some buffer spaces going around the perimeter, right? So you don't just have the fence between the tennis court and the soccer field is,
And this soccer field has two outlines.
one is the field and the other is about a 10-foot buffer. So that's kind of a buffer space around the
Is
field.
this size the
This
football?
is the original. This
Yeah, I
is,
think this is one they were saying is like the slightly longer.
So,
This one fit, everything fits.
so for a soccer field, how long is a soccer field?
if you have a high school soccer field,
Soccer field.
can be a minimum dimension of 100 yards.
And I think this was shown at like 116 or something, so it's like 8 feet.
And what about a football? Yeah,
So football, you're talking 120. And that's 60 feet. That's effectively the width of a pickleball court.
You just sent it to me.
Oh.
This
this is what Dan made. You wanna show thing?
Well, I can't, I'm not connected to this, but I can, yes, that is an update view.
Pop that up.
However, the caveat is,
But then we
that field that's represented is high school soccer. You cannot play lacrosse or,
couldn't make it longer?
Yeah,
You
they
can't make it
showed
long enough.
Their new design
Yeah.
shows it a smaller version than this. So you noticed that it was slightly smaller. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm into this idea. Can you pop that up so we can see it? So we're gonna ask them, so we would ask them potentially for a price to add more racket courts? That's what we're talking
well, and the price I do have, the price effectively for enough space to either put one tennis court or 3 pickleball courts effectively would add 225,000 to the total project cost.
That much for just,
Yeah, that surprises me.
Because you've got the court, the base that it's on, the fencing, the netting,
Is that what soft cost too?
that is,
Architectural fees?
well, the architectural fees are separate. Those aren't really affected too much at this point.
So one court, additional one court is over 200.
It works out to about $32 per square foot. One,
Just the construction.
that's to build it, everything.
Can you pull the picture up so they can see it?
just want to be clear here. So I recall this being the plan.
Yeah,
The only change being that we would do
One tennis.
One tennis.
Yeah.
And now it looks like you have a picture with some additional.
It looked-
courts.
yeah.
There's one more time.
That goes out this way?
Yeah, I think it's a court.
Yeah, that's what they came up with for comparison,
Okay.
although it reduces the
changes. the
soccer
fee.
field
That,
to
no, I get.
soccer
why
only.
That discussion started, but I hadn't seen this,
We can't put the
I
swale,
literally saw it 2 seconds ago, so I got nothing.
we can't put the swale.
I just had
there's not enough
direct
room.
board, just I saw it over the weekend.
yeah, got it.
So I assumed he tells you, and that's my fault, I should have told you, but it was just just a matter of the board, I just wanted the board to get response, to a lot of people reach out, and I said, hey, okay, let's understand, is it feasible to fit? Or- So you can do 2 tennis, 3 pickle and be done with it, and
But
accommodate
if we
whatever
do
wants.
this, if we do the extension, one more time on what happens?
It's 250K.
The soccer field,
125.
we have a high school soccer field and that's it.
We're limited to a high school.
No
soccer field.
lacrosse, no football?
Correct.
How big is the lacrosse field?
Same as a football.
Yeah.
What is it?
And this, I mean, this is
120.
predicated that bridge.
Goal. And lacrosse, the
Right.
goals are about the same as the soccer, but the field actually goes behind the goals.
Okay,
So lacrosse and football occupy the same
Nothing.
Okay.
general space.
okay.
Dan, so me and Benji were just talking, so I get it now. High school soccer only, but if you did want football or lacrosse, the only option is to not do the extension
Correct.
of the courts What about the other end? Where the road
Yeah,
is
the-
supposed to
The
be?
field could go.
How locked in are we in the?
Oh, good
Right.
Yes, I
question.
mean, the
The road.
bridge, that's 20 years.
Bridge of the
Well, why
future.
can't that road be moved? That
Well-
road isn't even there now, so.
Yeah. It could come up
Yeah,
at an
yeah.
angle.
True, however,
I mean, we don't know what's
the,
going on.
the bridge, that road is pretty well set. I don't believe there's really any flexibility to move that road.
Why?
North or south. Namely because of where the easement ties in on.
The other side.
Hudson side.
Okay, but I think you need to, doesn't sound like you're positive. We should look into that. Because we don't, it's not like we need a ton of feet,
Yeah, it also looks like.
right?
Extend
Doesn't,
to
Yeah.
10.
doesn't 20 feet
20
get
feet,
you
Yeah,
to a football field and lacrosse field?
Well, 20 yards.
I mean,
60
20
feet.
yards.
Yeah.
is,
That's 120 yards plus buffer space. So it's, I mean, it's sizable, but.
Will you look into that? We should just know what our options are there.
does this attempt to preserve the amphitheater? Because we could also move that.
No, this is really only looking at the baseball and
Okay.
soccer.
So is there a way to,
It's still open over there. It's-
but
I think if
could we
it's
push the
feasible
fields
to-
into that?
Extend, move the road.
Would that make
A
more
little,
space?
a little. There's
Yeah.
not much room
I
here.
mean, it looks to me though, like you've got, is that 20 feet?
It really
between-
depends on what you do with this road, because it's this part that's.
Right, but the northern line of the baseball field and the road, that looks like 20 feet to me. So can you move the? Right next to the road, right,
Does
just
look
get
like
people
20 feet.
running right next to it.
Let's
Yeah.
let Dan look
Okay.
into it. Dan,
Okay,
why don't you, not just look into it,
so then it
tell
would
them
be a
that
big
that's what we
discussion.
would like and see what they say.
Absolutely.
Designer.
Do you recall how much the tennis courts were
Yeah.
originally without the two of them?
It's, yes, the
It was
cost for
like-
just 2 courts, was 450,000.
So one more court.
So actually it bumps
You
the,
don't
bumps
get
the
any
cost of.
That
savings.
seems crazy.
Huh,
Tennis courts, 200.
It's the cost isn't really in the netting and striping.
Right.
The cost is in
No,
the
still-
asphalt.
Even
Yeah.
still,
Well,
it
you'd
seems
think
like a
getting-
lot.
yes,
Doesn't seem to.
you think you,
Is it concrete base of the basketball?
The concrete base underneath is part of, right, that was the
Yeah.
100,000 that added, right? So now that's getting 50% larger as well.
it's just still
50%,
surprising.
But it's only one court. I guess I'm confused. It's not like,
Well, you're-
well, it's instead of
Shouldn't it
2
be
bays, it's 3 bays.
50%?
It's a third larger.
No, that's right though, 50% of the whole 50, yeah. I'm just surprised there's not savings because you already have everybody out there digging and whatever, laying stuff.
Right,
and
right.
like the mobilization, I would think there would be savings.
But I mean, keep in mind, this is a design build and the way that,
Right.
that the, the scope items have been organized. They're looking at, purely just the costs to build the court.
Right,
So some of
right,
that
yeah,
site work
yeah,
and
okay,
things
that's fair.
are buried in other line items.
So you've already been quoted on that by them?
That's what they have in their, summary of costs. Yeah, their adjusted summary based on that. New
The
graphic.
additional court.
This is probably the cheapest we would ever get though, to build another court. Because if you try and do this somewhere else, it's gonna be more than 220.
And,
Right.
and they're together.
And designing it, and they're together, right, yeah.
All right, let's
All right, next,
look into that, Dan.
interesting.
I imagine we can get them to sharpen the pencil too, if we say it's too much and we're not gonna do it. And getting paid something.
$5,000 less, I'll do it.
What else, Dan?
So just a few smaller items. Is following up, the Restore New York grant application was successfully submitted on December 20th. This most recent application was for improvements at 6468 Beekman. Other grants, we did not receive the Water Quality Improvement Program grant, which we applied for the salt shed and fueling as part of the DPW back of house. And then I don't believe there's been any word back yet on the LWRP or pro housing grants that we submitted for, which would cover the multi-purpose field and some of that space that we were just looking at in the plan, the balance of the active recreation space in that quadrant of the east parcel. And aside from that, both the Climate Smart Communities and ESD grant that were received for the DPW and the bridge, we'll need to coordinate with the state on those grants to just make sure appropriate extensions or timelines are in place that to just continue to keep that up to date within their system, depending on how things move forward with either of those projects. We talked about the insurance policy. And one other bit of good news is that the phase 1 assessments for both 64, 68 and 38 River Street, the research and field work was completed on January 7th. I'm expecting the final reports tomorrow. So I'll circulate those to the board when I get them. I don't expect anything out of the ordinary, considering what those two sites are.
What do you mean you don't expect anything out of it?
Well, it's just, there's no, no nuclear waste,
Do you expect a phase 2 to be needed for the?
for 38 River Street, almost assuredly.
Okay.
Yep. But probably not for the other one.
So a lot of.
Well, no, that's to be expected. What's that?
That's the south part.
That's the existing DPW site and ancillary parcels to that.
Okay.
Right,
But
so
not
it's
the parking.
not, they really just looked at the actual facility itself, given that the remaining sites are vacant land, there's no undeveloped land. The DPW being formerly a water treatment plant is something of note. So we'll see what the report includes
Good.
and what they recommend for a follow-up. Other than that, our next meeting would be in 2 weeks on January 27th.
Be here for that meeting.
So on and out.
Oh, shoot.
How's everybody else looking?
Yeah.
It's all great today.
Is that what it is? Very timely. Thanks, Mike.
All right, 27th.
Scout meeting?
So just, Dan, one more question, and then we're gonna go into that. On the sewer site, I saw some of your pictures. Sewer work is done. It's all filled in now
Mhm.
and leveled.
Mhm.
Do you see that nice piece of land we got added to the lots?
That part?
And is it the only thing left for them to do? There is still a pipe buried, the bypass.
Bypass.
So once they get the okay from Department of Health,
But that's taken out in no time.
they're gonna, they have to just do a temporary, pump it from one to the next, so they can plug the hole.
But you're pulling the pipe out.
They'll pull most of the pipe out. They'll probably leave a chunk of it, abandon it in place.
Anybody have any other business to discuss? Otherwise, I'd like to go into exec to discuss legal matters.
I had one request. Dan, would you mind sending me the phasing for the DPW estimates that you did maybe like a year and a half ago?
Do we have a start date yet on the tennis court? Skateboard park, all that stuff.
That is really subject to the design
Yeah,
build
we might
amendment.
have a new design though, too.
So it doesn't look like it's gonna be May.
Well, that's something we have to discuss with the design team and their contractor, and whether or not we can run both projects concurrently or.
Expected to be in the springs, I don't know.
I mean, and some of it is how late can they start that project and still get everything done before winter of this year, coming our next winter.
Okay, can I get a motion to go into exec?
Motion to go into executive?
All in favor, say aye.
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 So